Welcome to another DragonLance Saga review episode. It is Misham Dark Ember the 7th. My name is Adam, and today I'm going to give you my review of The Medusa Plague by Mary Kirchoff. Now, I would like to take a moment and thank the DL Saga members of this channel and invite you to consider becoming a member by visiting the link in the description below. You can even pick up DragonLance gaming materials using my affiliate links. Now, this is just my opinion. If yours differs, that's okay. Leave your comments in the YouTube live chat if you're joining live, and if you're watching this after the fact, because I didn't let anyone know that I was going to be doing this. I assume most of you are going to see this after the fact. Leave your comments in the comments. Yeah, that works. In any case, this is a really fun read, at least it was for me. So let's get into it. Oh yeah, so the way these work is I have a pre-written review, which is why I donned the glasses, because of my eyes going bad from old age. Being old sucks. And basically, I break the book up into thirds. Every day I'll read like a third of it, write my thoughts at the end of it, and then just sort of move on. So some of the stuff is out of order because the way I reflect on it is different than the way it is narratively. So you always keep that in mind. I'm always giving my own spin on it. So I do leave stuff out that's not maybe germane to the core story itself. So if you really want to get a good view of these books, I highly recommend you read them yourselves. But in any case, let's get into it. So the first third of this novel is pretty intriguing. Guerrand DiThon and Esme are among the wizards crafting the Bastion, a fortress to protect the Lost Citadel per the gods of magic's request/demands. The head of the orders sent them all away after the walls were built and finished the insides themselves, and then transported it to its own demi-plane in the ethereal sea. Rand returns to a village where Esme is growing more concerned with his obsession over an event in his test. Rand ended up seeing himself as Raniker, the black-robed who cursed the Tower of High Sorcery in Palanthas. The dream has been plaguing him since his test, as if there's something he's supposed to learn from it that has yet eluded him. This causes Esme to leave him and return to her father's estate as he dies. After 5 years, he receives word about a message from Justarius, so he returns home to collect the note from some fey creature. The scroll says he needs to return to Wayreth as the council wants to see him. He's presented with the opportunity to actually run the Bastion, as the current master is left. I don't recall them saying why. I do recall immediately thinking of The Shining, however, because it's so isolated in this sort of like two-dimensional demi-plane. Anyway, Rand is offered the position of master and must accept or reject it that night. He's told that he will never receive anything as important from the council again, so he accepts it. He travels to the Bastion and meets 2 other mages there. They are sore for having been passed up for promotion, but ultimately accept him. They take shifts protecting the area, and in one shift, the hellhounds, which patrol the grounds, fought the gargoyles that watch over the walls. They're charm spells that the wizards have to cast to maintain peace between these 2 creatures, and after having dealt with it, they're sort of reinvigorated by the necessity to pay more attention. Cut to Liam Reichstadt. He stayed at Wayreth, but ultimately no one could cure his snake hand. This drove him to search elsewhere and heard a tale of a crone under the new sea who could help. He travels down there as a sea troll and fights with some water zombies, but ultimately confronts the Coral Oracle in the ruined ancient city of Itzal Clairtal. She tells him that she can help, but she needs a favor. There's this harpoon that is cursed, holding her to this harpoon is like literally going right through her chest into the chair behind her, pinning her in place. And then there's coral growing up and around her. It's very great, vividly detailed by the author, and sounds like a really interesting place to go do a little dungeon diving. Anyway, the harpoon is cursed and holding her to her throne. If he removes it, because only a human can remove it, she will tell him what he wants to know. He reluctantly does so, and she leaves, telling him that his old master knows how to cure the arm. You will all remember from the last novel that his old master, in fact, is dead. So frustrated, Liam researched summoning spells and speaking with the dead from his old master's study. He finds a jar of his old master's nail clippings. He uses that to summon his old master from the abyss and asks him how to reverse the spell on his arm. His master tells him that he must open a portal to the Lost Citadel in order to reverse it. Knowing that the Bastion was made to guard anyone from doing that, Liam knows that he cannot open a portal, but others might be able to help. So he reaches out to Esme, finding out that she has a piece of the stone from the Bastion, and that Rand is the master there now. He steals the stone and wanders the ethereal sea, calling out for Rand. A Krynn tells Rand that there's a human calling him in the ethereal sea, and that he will kill him. Rand tells the Krynn to wait and confronts Liam. Liam all but begs him to let him into the Bastion, but Rand refuses. It is his mission not to allow anyone, and tells Liam to petition the orders if he really wants to get in. Liam refuses, and Rand leaves. But now, Liam will figure out a way to manipulate or go around Rand. We then cut to Bram, Rand's nephew. He's been working himself to the bone to bring his father's estate back to order and making friends in the nearby village. It's his birthday, so he goes to visit his sister who's out, but has boots. It's actually his aunt. I don't know why it says sister. But has boots for him as a gift, and he visits an old timer who he makes candles with when a boy runs up on him. He tells him that his father is sick and Brand has to help. They discover that the father's skin is shedding like a snake, and he is in very ill health. All Brand can really do is give him some yarrow tea and leaves, yarrow tea. And I believe this is obviously not only a cue to the title of the book, but also Liam's doing, obviously. We shall see if Rand forsakes his duty to help. We cut to Bram helping others with the sickness, including his old friend Nahamkin, that has his hand turned to snakes, their body turns to stone, and then they die as the snakes say Rand's name. So, believing that his uncle has something to do with this, he returns home to find his mother refusing to help and trying to get Brand to stop helping the town people. Then his father starts talking shit about Rand, blaming it all on him. Knowing he's heard Rand's name from the snake's head, Bran believes he needs to find his uncle in order to help stop the disease. He leaves and is met by a little brown fairy creature called a Tuatha. Reminds me of the Willow magic word, Tuatha, Loch, Tuar. Anyway, I'm a Willow fan. They give Bram a coin to pass through the Feywild to get to Wayreth faster, and tell him to give the coin to Parsalian only. He passes a few trials in the Feywild, then emerges outside of Wayreth. Meanwhile, Liam goes to Thonville to see Rand's sister, trying to see if she knows where he is. This is very odd, because he already knows where Rand is. Then he hears about Bram and heads to Wayreth. Very, very strange turn of events. At this point in the book, I was sort of reeling from the election results that we just got announced yesterday morning. So maybe I wasn't paying as much attention as I should have when I was reading. In any case, Liam sees Bram outside Wayreth and prepares to follow him if he's sent to Bastion. How? I have no idea, nor do I recall how he even knows that Bram went to Wayreth. But here we are. Bram talks to Parsalian and Justarius and the situation and disease. We've already learned that Liam used an existing Medusa plague and twisted it with a curse to cause Rand's name and the snake hand. They're willing to help and send Bram to Bastion. This is where Liam follows him, but again, how is never satisfyingly explained. He talks to Rand about the situation and gives him a scroll Justarius sent with him. He sends Bram to get some sleep and reads that Justarius has given him another scroll to teleport both he and Bram to their own town in order to deal with the issue. Then the alarm goes off. Someone has breached the Bastion. Guess who? They go to fight Liam and actually end up killing him. However, I don't think he's dead. Just mostly dead. I don't know for sure yet, but I have a feeling. And my feeling was correct. Cut to the third day of reading this. But that comes at the end. So, with Liam seemingly dealt with, Rand and Bram return to the home to deal with the plague. Rand is stunned at the state of the town, and when he sees his sister Kira, she blames him, reciting what Liam told her about the sickness. However, she is also sick, refusing to acknowledge it until her skin starts peeling off of her arms. Terrified and confused, Rand tells her the truth about Liam and sets out to find a cure before she is dead. He wanders the town and meets an old blacksmith friend of his who just buried his family and is ill himself near death. He reveals that Bram, his nephew, is part Tuatha, or Tuatha. They have a pronunciation. I mess it up every time. Anyway, which makes a ton of sense and harkens back to some old Celtic myths, which I desperately love. And it explains why they were so willing to help Bram get to Wayreth at the very beginning and tend to his fields. And I can't help but think it's going to have something to do with the third book. Fingers crossed. Anyway, he also tells Rand that it's when the rising of the moons occurs that the people die. So this presents a new idea to Rand. If he can temporarily make Nuitari two-dimensional, like Bastion is, it cannot shine on the town and will thus end the curse. He then buries his friend with Bram. The description of these diseases and the effects it has on those watching them is genuinely moving. The author does a wonderful job of making you feel gross and sort of disgusting while you're sort of experiencing this vicariously through the characters in the novel. And that's pretty effective storytelling. And it's not something that you really see in earlier versions of Dragonlance novels. And so I do believe that this era, this sort of mid-90s era, is a tipping point for when the Dragonlance novels start to get consistently better compared to the earlier ones like the Preludes and Meetings sextets. So, Rand writes magical scrolls to teleport other scrolls to the surface of Nuitari in order to turn it two-dimensional, but before he can finish, Nuitari himself summons Rand to condemn his actions. The god of magic seems to care less about Rand's intentions or plight, but ultimately relents, vowing that Rand will now owe him a favor. Put a pin in that because that must come up in the third book as well. And I can't wait. All right, so Rand accepts and then returns, completing the spell. This breaks the plague and his sister is saved. As he begins to leave, Bram asks to go with him, but as he's not a mage, he can't. Then they're put to sleep with magic and awaken with the Tuatha and their king Weedor, telling them of the sorry state of the town. This reminds me of the Black Cauldron, where these, like, I can't remember what they call them in the Black Cauldron. I think they are like dwarves, but they're sort of like little fairy people. And anyway, they just like come up to the surface and sort of do whatever they want. I'm trying to remember as I'm sort of just riffing here. But it definitely reminds me of the Black Cauldron. And I'm talking about the extended cut, not the theatrical release. Love that film. The books are way different, but they're good too. All right, so they live in a symbiotic state, and the plague has decimated everything. So Bram vows to rebuild, and the king proposes Rand stay and help, but of course, he can't. The Tuatha leaves, and Rand travels back to Bastion with a warning that there is danger that waits him, according to the king. He arrives to Bastion. He confronts Dagamir, the female black robe that watches Bastion with him, and she says that Ezius, the white robe that watches it with them, is acting strange and even called her Ezra. This informs Rand that Liam is possessing Ezius, and he goes to stop him. Now, Liam is opening a portal to the Lost Citadel, and when it opens, he puts his body's hand inside, which releases the snake, returning his hand to normal. However, he's pulled into the Lost Citadel area by magic, and standing at the gate, he hears Rand yell his name. Now, Rand and Dagamir had broken into his room, fought 2 Naga guards, which killed Zigaris, his familiar, and paralyzed Dagamir. Rand faces off against Liam, but the Bastion begins to be torn apart. Rand tells Liam to get the bodies with him to safety or they will surely die, but Liam is stunned and being attacked by the gods for having entered the Lost Citadel dimension. Rand gets Ezius and Dagamir's bodies to the courtyard and watches as Bastion is destroyed. We cut to a council of the Orders of High Sorcery talking about how the Bastion was built as separate wings for each of the orders, but their strength lies in their shared protection of the art, so it will be rebuilt with them all living together. Then Ezius asks to stay on. Rand asks for Dagamir to be the new master, and he wants to go home. The council agrees and is dismissed. The final moments of the novel are the head of the orders deciding to send assassins after Liam, as his body was never recovered. I really enjoyed this novel. I truly understood Liam's motivations, and though I was angered by them, they made sense for the character. Rand was a great character, and more mature wizard as well, and I'm stoked for him to return home to see his family and help rebuild the town. I really hope he gets back together with Esme as an aside. I feel like they're really good together. All in all, I have no idea how this trilogy will end, but I am very pleased with it thus far. If you enjoy stories about wizards, you will probably enjoy this novel. I highly recommend it. All right, Giggles, how you doing, man? Upper Peninsula of Michigan. What up? Injun Joe, how you doing, man? Krynn is a celestial being from the Oriental Adventures. Yeah, and you're right. It was originally mentioned in the Soulforge game book. I was stunned when I found that out. I was like, why is a Krynn here? This is an odd place for it. It looks like Falcor from the Neverending Story. I don't know. It's more of like a lion in the way I picture it. It's like a white, fluffy lion with a unicorn horn. I'm just going off memory. Like big old fat paws. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I did enjoy it, though. You have a question. Who do you think would do a good cast if he ever made a miniseries of Dragonlance? That's a really good question because the Heroes of the Lance are kids. They're like 19, average-ish age, except for Flint, who's an old man. I don't know. I'm trying to remember his name. Timothy Chalamet might make a really good Raceland. He's a great actor. I know he can put himself into roles. You lose the actor in the role. I think he might be a badass Raceland. Let me think. I don't know who Moises Arias is. Tracy has seen Fallout, the series, the actor that plays Norm. Oh. I don't know. I'd have to really think about that. That's a big question, and I don't have a bunch of young actors in my head. I'm always like leaning to like old school actors that I grew up with, and none of them would work well. I think a really interesting choice for Fizban would be like I'm trying to remember his name right now, but I'm seeing his face in my head. He's the Irish actor. I think he's Irish. He did the movies where his daughter's kidnapped. Liam Neeson. I think Liam Neeson might be a very interesting Fizban because he can lose himself in a role. And Fizban's just sort of like this wizened old sort of goofball. It might be fun for someone like Liam Neeson to just be a goofball for a while, especially in his older age. I think that might be kind of interesting. Malcolm McDowell. Oh, he might be cool as a Fizban. I don't know. Good questions. I'll have to make a list and then come and do like a Dragonlance hangout for that, because that would be a very interesting conversation, I think. He's already spoken the words. Nice. All right. Well, that is it for my review of The Medusa Plague by Mary Kirchoff. What did you think of The Medusa Plague itself? Did you believe Liam's motivations? And finally, will Rand and Esme get back together? I said Ezra earlier, but it's actually Esme. I would like to take a moment and thank the DL Saga. Remind you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, ring the bell to get notified about upcoming videos, and click the like button. This all goes to help other Dragonlance fans learn about this channel and its content. Thank you so much for joining in the celebration for DragonLance Saga. My name is Adam, and until next time, Slanchavar.